Good day to all the participants to the second Duke MBA Business in Africa Conference. It is a pleasure for us to be able to join you for the next 10 minutes to share some thoughts on this important topic on fostering innovation ecosystems in Africa. In the next few slides, next few minutes, we're going to share some ideas in terms of what makes Africa unique and perhaps why this particular conference is important for Africa. We'll then go on to have a look at some ideas in terms of fostering innovation ecosystems, some ingredients that are important for doing that. And lastly, we'll spend some time looking at the innovation hub in South Africa and its work in the healthcare sector. Africa is quite important, and one of the things that we realize in terms of Africa is that its population distribution is different from the rest of the world. I think one of the things that defines Africa is its youthful population. More than 60% of the African population is under the age of 25. And in addition to that, there is a growth in terms of urbanization. And therein lies opportunities, but also some challenges. Within the challenges and the opportunities, there is the room for innovation for Africa to be able to innovate. If we look at how Africa has fared since 2011, it's been growing in terms of its attractiveness to investors. Today, in 2014, 2015, Africa stands second in terms of being an attractive investment destination for investors. If we look at the growth rate in terms of the economic growth in Africa, the GDPs have been growing at an unprecedented rate of about 8%. The big question is, how will Africa sustain this particular growth? Coupled with some of the healthcare challenges, the burden of disease that Africa faces. And that is important consideration in terms of, again, where should innovation focus on? When you're talking about innovation ecosystems, where should we be putting our work? But how will Africa sustain that particular growth when Africa, in essence, doesn't spend much on R&D? And we see that in this particular slide where Africa, in particular South Africa, is right at the bottom there in terms of R&D expenditure as a percentage of GDP. If you look at the Asian tigers, they're looking at about 1.52% plus, and therefore Africa needs to be investing more. If we look at this particular slide, we realize that the global share of researchers is very low in Africa. And that is perhaps not a surprise, because on the left-hand side of this particular slide, you can see that the global share of R&D is also very negligible. What are the 7 key factors that perhaps we need to consider when having this discussion around fostering the innovation ecosystems in Africa? I would perhaps place the first one as being looking at enabling intellectual property systems, and secondly, looking at increasing R&D expenditure, putting in place incentives to be able to drive R&D expenditure. We need to broaden the range of financial and non-financial instruments to be able to support both idea generation and commercialization. Already we've spoken about the issue of skills. We need to put in place mechanisms to increase the supply of knowledge generation and also commercialization skills. Incubation support, science parks are an important part of ensuring that Africa does participate in the knowledge economy. And also we need to be able to build those knowledge institutions at a critical mass so that we're generating the knowledge that then can be translated into patents. If you look at Africa, the spending within Africa, governments are the biggest spenders. And the question is, how can governments drive innovation through procurement? How can they align their procurement policies in such a way that they foster innovation? The Innovation Hub focuses on 2 instruments, the GAP Biosciences as well as the BioPark at Gauteng, as mechanisms to be able to drive the healthcare-related interventions. But what has been the journey for South Africa in terms of the healthcare sector? We go back to 1996 when South Africa published the white paper on science and technology, which in essence defined innovation as being critical for South Africa's future growth. In 2001, the government published the National Biotechnology Strategy, and a range of instruments were then set up to be able to fast-track the development of South African bred technologies. In 2008, the 10-year innovation plan emphasizing farmer with an F to a farmer with a P, and hence the importance of healthcare sector. In 2014, the government published then the bioeconomy strategy, which again lifts up the issues of healthcare, looking at treatments, prophylaxis, diagnostics, as well as medical devices. The Innovation Hub is a science and technology park, the first leading one in the African continent. It's located within the province of Gauteng, which is the fourth largest economy in Africa. We focus on three sectors: high-tech technology, green economy, as well as biosciences. We distribute our work broadly in four broad areas: skills development, enterprise development, fostering innovation, working with the private sector, government sector, as well as providing enabling spaces for innovation and knowledge workers. In about 2011, we partnered with Emory University to be able to address the skills deficit. And in this particular program that we call the Gauteng Accelerator Program in Biosciences, we look specifically at the bio-entrepreneurship issues. In 2014, we were joined by Pfizer and the Innovation Prize Africa to be able to make this particular program more comprehensive. The second instrument that we use in the healthcare sector is a BioPark at Gauteng. This is a world-class African-first life sciences enterprise development initiative to be able to look at how do you provide a pre-commercial infrastructure and incubator that will then fast-track the development of South African and African-born technologies. Through the BioPark, we provide business incubation, subsidized office spaces, intellectual property advisory services, shared open spaces. Phase 1, which opened in October 2014, already houses 10 companies, half of which are specifically in healthcare, and the other half are in the agro-processing. Phase 2, which is what we're going to be implementing from this year and hopefully open up in 2016, focuses on cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, as well as diagnostics, and we're hoping to then be able to take up another 20 companies. And you can see that the structure of the BioPark is also geared at addressing some of those issues that we highlighted earlier as being important for fostering innovation ecosystems. Let's have a look at the four focus areas of the BioPark at Gauteng. Firstly, accelerating technology commercialization. This is really taking all the technologies from the universities, research councils, and moving them into the market. Secondly, providing an enabling innovation ecosystem in the life sciences. Thirdly, developing entrepreneurial capabilities, and that's where the gap biosciences also fits in, and working with various researchers and entrepreneurs. And then lastly, supporting cutting edge, next generation technologies from Africa. These are some of the companies that are sitting currently within the Innovation Hub in the life sciences sector. Marty TB Diagnostics have come up with a novel way, a blood-based, a point-of-care TB diagnostics. We also have a look at Altis Biologics, which has come up with a bone growth technology. VX Pharma is a clinical research organization that has 30 beds located within the Innovation Hub. And there's a number of other companies that are looking also at analytics. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that the last few minutes that we've been able to share together, although electronically, have actually been useful in terms of providing you with an insight in terms of perhaps some of our own thoughts, as well as some of the work that is happening in South Africa in terms of fostering innovation ecosystems in Africa. I wish you great deliberations for the remainder of the conference. Thank you.